Virgo, have you ever watched water come to a boil? Not the dramatic moment when it finally rolls and churns and announces itself. The moment before that, the moment when the first tiny bubble forms at the bottom of the pot, trembles against the glass, and then holds. Just holds there, suspended. The heat is already there. The transformation is already underway. Everything that needs to happen is already happening. But from the outside, if you did not know what you were looking at, you might conclude that nothing was occurring at all. That is the exact energetic signature surrounding you right now. And I need you to understand something before we go anywhere else in this reading. The stillness you may have been mistaking for stagnation is pressure. It is the specific, charged, loaded stillness of something that is about to break the surface in a way that cannot be reversed or undone. Something big is coming, not as a comfort phrase, not as the kind of vague reassurance that spiritual content sometimes offers when it has nothing more specific to give, as a literal description of the energetic weather moving into your atmosphere right now, today, in this precise season of your existence. Stay with me, because this reading has layers. Before anything else, though, before we go one step further into what the energy is showing, I need to take a breath with the people who make this space real. You know, I was reading through comments recently, just sitting with them quietly, and what struck me was not any single message, but the cumulative texture of all of them together, the honesty in them, the specific, detailed, courageous honesty of people sharing something true about their lives in a comment section on the internet, which is not exactly a place famous for that quality of vulnerability. You do that here. And I want you to know I feel the weight of it. I do not scroll past it. I do not treat it as background noise to the work. It is part of the work. You are part of the work. To anyone finding this channel for the first time through whatever chain of clicks and quiet synchronicities brought you here today, welcome into this. There is no catching up required. You arrived exactly when you were supposed to. Now, let us get into what is genuinely moving in your energy, Virgo. Because I have been sitting with this since the reading opened, and I want to give it to you in full. I want to start with a question that I am not actually going to ask you to answer out loud. I want you to just notice your body's response to it. When was the last time you allowed yourself to fully believe that something extraordinary was meant for you? Not in the polite, socially acceptable way of saying, yes, of course, good things can happen to anyone, but in the deep, private, unperformed way of someone who genuinely, in the quiet center of themselves, believes that their life is moving toward something that will take their breath away. Notice what happened in your body when I asked that. Because for many of you, there was a flinch, a small, almost imperceptible internal recoil. The particular physiological response of someone who wants to believe something but has learned through specific experiences and specific disappointments to keep that belief at a careful distance, to hold hope at arm's length, as though the space between hope and the heart is a form of protection. I understand that flinch, Virgo. I want you to know I am not going to rush you past it or pretend it is not there. But I am also going to spend this entire reading gently, persistently, with complete evidential honesty, making the case that the protection is no longer necessary, because what is coming does not require your belief to arrive. It is coming regardless. Your belief would simply allow you to receive it more fully when it does. Let me talk about what a walking miracle actually is, not as a compliment, not as the kind of thing people say to make someone feel better about a difficult season, as an accurate description of a specific energetic phenomenon. A walking miracle is not someone to whom nothing bad has happened. It is not someone who has been protected from difficulty or loss or confusion or the particular exhaustion of not knowing how much longer you can hold the shape of your life together while everything around you seems determined to pull at the seams. A walking miracle is someone who has moved through all of that, who has woken up on mornings when waking up required something that should not have been necessary just to open your eyes, who has had conversations where they held themselves together by will alone while something inside was actively coming apart, who has stood in rooms, smiled in photos, answered emails, made coffee, paid bills, all while carrying something privately enormous that nobody around them could fully see or measure, who did all of that and is still here, still curious, still feeling, still watching videos about their spiritual energy at this exact moment, which means some part of them has not given up on the idea that their life is going somewhere worth going. That is you, Virgo. That is what a walking miracle looks like from the inside. Not radiant, not effortless, not unmarked by what it costs to keep going, but undeniably, stubbornly, almost inconveniently still here and still reaching towards something. The miracle is not that your life has been easy. The miracle is what you built out of the fact that it was not. Now, I want to get specific about the energy of arrival because the title of this reading is not decorative. Something big is genuinely moving into your life, and I want to describe what I am sensing about the nature of it because I think the how of it matters as much as the what. What I am picking up is not the energy of a single dramatic event dropping into an otherwise unchanged life. What I am sensing is more like a frequency shift, a recalibration of the entire atmosphere of your existence, from which multiple things begin to change simultaneously, so interconnected and interwoven that it becomes difficult later to point to a single moment and say, that was when everything shifted. It will feel, in retrospect, like everything shifted at once. And the particular quality of this shift, it has the texture of deserving meeting delivery, that very specific energetic moment when what you have been building internally in the quiet, unsexy privacy of your own growth finally finds its external match. When the internal work and the outer world stop running on separate tracks and finally begin to move in the same direction at the same speed, that synchronization is what big actually means here. Not necessarily loud, not necessarily visible to everyone around you immediately, but big in the way that structural things are big, foundation level, the kind of change that does not just alter the surface of your life, but reorganizes what the surface is resting on. I want to speak about something that has been happening in your energy field that you may not have fully registered or named yet. There has been a kind of shedding, not dramatic, not the kind that announces itself with obvious markers of change. The quiet, cellular, almost biological kind of shedding that happens when an organism is preparing to move into a different phase of its existence. The snake does not make a sound when it leaves its old skin behind. The caterpillar does not hold a ceremony. The process is internal, unglamorous, and invisible to anyone who is not looking with the right kind of attention. But it is real, and it has been happening to you. Old identities that no longer accurately describe who you are, old relational patterns that used to feel like home and now feel faintly like costumes, old ways of explaining yourself to yourself, old internal narratives about what you deserve and what is realistic and what people like you get to have quietly, steadily losing their hold. You may have experienced this as a kind of vague restlessness, a sense of being between versions of yourself without a clean name for either the version you are leaving or the version you are becoming. A feeling of not quite fitting inside your own life the way you used to, as though you have grown and the life has not yet caught up to the new dimensions. That restlessness is not a problem, Virgo. That is the sensation of the old skin releasing. And what is underneath it, what has been forming quietly in the protected space of that shedding, is precisely what the something big is coming to meet. I want to slow down right here because Spirit is showing me something specific, and I do not want to move past it without giving it its full weight. I am being shown a version of you not far from now receiving something. And what is interesting about the image is not the thing being received, it is the expression on your face in the moment of receiving it. It is not the expression of someone shocked, not the wide eyed, hand over mouth theatrical surprise of something completely unanticipated. It is something quieter and somehow more profound than that. The expression of someone who, upon receiving something significant, feels simultaneously surprised and recognized. Like meeting a word for the first time and realizing it has been the word you needed for years, like the thing arriving confirms something you almost believed but were afraid to fully commit to believing. That expression, that particular combination of surprise and deep recognition, that is what I am seeing on your face when this arrives. And I want to tell you what I think that means. It means that on some level, in the place where you know things before you can prove them, you already know this is coming. Your cells are already making room for it. Your nervous system is already quietly beginning its adjustment to a reality that your conscious mind has not yet received official confirmation of. That quiet internal preparing is not wishful thinking. It is a form of knowing. Trust it. I need to talk about the people around you right now because the energy here is interesting and specific enough to name. There are people in your life, some close, some more peripheral, who are watching you with a quality of attention that you have not fully registered. Not suspicious attention, not critical attention, something closer to the quiet, almost held breath attention of someone watching a thing they have invested in begin to show signs of what it is becoming. They see something happening in you. They may not have language for it. They may not say it directly. But there is a quality of paying attention to you, of tracking your trajectory that has increased recently. Some of them are realizing that whatever they thought they understood about your ceiling, about what you were capable of, about what your life was going to look like, those assumptions are in the process of being quietly, methodically proved incorrect. And for some of you, one of these people is going to say something in a conversation that begins ordinarily and then lands somewhere neither of you expected. A comment, an observation, a specific acknowledgement of something they have been watching in you that is going to function as its own small miracle. The experience of being seen accurately, fully, by someone whose seeing of you matters. Watch for that conversation. Let it land all the way in rather than deflecting it with modesty. You have earned being seen. Let me address something directly because I think it needs to be said without softening. There is a particular Virgo pattern that I observe with remarkable consistency across readings, and it is this: an extraordinary capacity to recognize and articulate the growth, the worth, and the potential of everyone around them, combined with a genuinely puzzling difficulty applying that same quality of generous perception to themselves. You would never tell someone you love that they have been through too much to deserve something good now. You would never tell a friend that the difficulty of their past was evidence against the brightness of their future. You would find those conclusions not only illogical, but almost cruel, because your heart genuinely does not operate that way when it is turned towards someone else. And yet, when the subject of the assessment is you, something shifts, the generosity contracts, the logic bends. The same mind that would advocate fiercely and articulately for anyone else somehow becomes the home of a quiet, stubborn, persistent voice that asks whether you specifically are the exception to the general rule that people deserve good things. You are not the exception, Virgo. You have never been the exception. The miracle walking around in your body is not conditional on you having navigated everything perfectly or made every right choice or arrived at this moment unmarked by difficulty. It is not a reward system. It is not compensation. It is simply what you are, what you have always been. What the difficulty, if anything, has made more concentrated, more refined, more distilled into its essential and extraordinary nature. You are not a miracle because your life has been miraculous. You are a miracle because you persisted inside a life that was sometimes genuinely hard, and you remained throughout all of it fundamentally and irreducibly yourself. That is the rarest thing. Something is coming, Virgo, and I want to describe the quality of its arrival one more time before we close, because I think the description matters. It is not going to announce itself with fanfare. It is not going to arrive wrapped in obvious signs that require no interpretation. It is going to appear at first as something that could almost be ordinary, a conversation, an opportunity, a message, a meeting, a moment in an otherwise normal day that carries underneath its surface a weight and a significance that you will feel before you fully understand. And you will feel it, Virgo. That is the thing I want to leave you with. Your sensitivity, the very quality that has sometimes made you feel like you absorb too much, like the world lands on you harder than it seems to land on other people, is precisely the instrument through which you will recognize this arrival for what it is. The same nervous system that picks up everything, the undercurrents of rooms, the unspoken layers of conversations, the emotional weather of people around you before they have said a word. That same nervous system is going to recognize what is arriving, is going to register it as significant before your analytical mind has had time to process and verify and assess. When you feel that recognition, I want you to let it be right. I want you to, in that moment, resist the reflex, to minimize it, to contextualize it into something smaller, to protect yourself from the possibility of being wrong by deciding preemptively that you are probably misreading things. You will not be misreading things. You are a walking miracle in the final breaths before something extraordinary breaks the surface of your life and announces itself for exactly what it is. The water is already heated, Virgo. The bubble is already forming at the bottom of the glass. Any moment now, if something in this reading landed somewhere specific for you, somewhere that felt less like general spiritual content and more like something that was looking directly at your actual life, I want to hear about it. Leave it in the comments. Tell me what hit. Tell me what you felt in your body when a particular part of this reached you. Because your stories shape what comes next in this space. And I mean that in the most literal way possible. Take good care of yourself today. Drink water. Rest if you can. And pay attention, quiet, close attention to what begins arriving in the ordinary moments of your very near future. It will not look like a miracle at first, but you will feel that it is